Abu Dhabi is being redefined. Today, its non-oil sectors drive over half of its economic activity, marking a major shift from dependence to diversification over the past few decades. How did this transformation happen? And what opportunities does the UAE capital unlock for global investors and business leaders? In the Abu Dhabi Advantage series, we'll explore the strategies, sectors, and stakeholders shaping the future of Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi is a rising global hub of business, culture, and tourism. In 2024, the emirate welcomed 40 million visitors, generating $24.5 billion in tourism-linked GDP. To unpack how and why this transformation is happening, I'm joined today by two leaders from very different backgrounds, but both of whom have chosen to make Abu Dhabi their home. Manuel Rabaté, Museum Director at the Louvre Abu Dhabi, welcome. And Arvind Ramamurthy, Chief Market Development Officer at ADGM, or Abu Dhabi Global Markets. Welcome. So let's get into it. So as I said, both of you have very different backgrounds. I'd love to know what brought you to Abu Dhabi.
The place we're in, actually. We're in the Louvre Abu Dhabi, and it's a pleasure to be welcome and to welcome you at the same time in this beautiful 19th century gallery. So this museum brought me here.
Very special. And on a personal level?
On a personal level, it was a bet with my family, a desire to discover this very special place. For a long time, I was coming, to prepare the museum. It was a long project for almost a decade. We were preparing, and at one point, to make it real, to progress. It was about coming here, and so it was a family decision because it's a full commitment. So we've done that more than 11 years ago.
All right. And you, Arvind, what brought you to Abu Dhabi?
Listen, now been in Abu Dhabi for close to 13 years. What brought me in here was just a random call that I got one fine day saying there's an opportunity with this particular institution. They said, listen, we've got this great opportunity. We're doing this very interesting work. Do you want to be part of this journey? And I said, you know what? Let's do it. And to be honest, it's the best decision I probably ever made in my life.
Did you visit, Arvind? Did you came to Louvre Abu Dhabi?
Of course.
Even if it was not there when you make the decision to come?
So yeah, listen, been to Louvre multiple times. Just went to Team Lab Phenomena last week as well. And it's amazing, right? This scene is something that I think differentiates Abu Dhabi quite a bit.
And does it impact your world as ADGM? Attracting and growing businesses in Abu Dhabi. How does this cultural element impact your work?
Massive, right? I think it's a massive draw. Because at the end of the day, at what we're trying to do at ADGM, as for people that don't know, it's the financial district at Abu Dhabi. It's been the fastest growing financial district for the last few years, not just in the region, but also globally on quite a few metrics. I think, what differentiates this is that when people come here, they're coming to live a life, right? People are typically, a lot of the people that come to ADGM are first-time visitors to the UAE, right? These are new businesses that are moving to the UAE from around the world. And the fact that we've got this cultural angle is what makes this home. At ADGM, we always talk about what we call the live, work, play kind of mindset. And we've got some fantastic opportunities for all of that in Abu Dhabi. But I think culture is what roots you, right? And the fact that you've got these deep roots, at the same point of time, you're kind of aiming for the stars in terms of growth, is what I think sets Abu Dhabi apart globally.
I'd love to know who's visiting the Louvre Abu Dhabi, Manuel.
People from all over the world. I think the diversity and the richness in the city and in the emirate is mirrored in our visitorship. We had a big development. Post-COVID, our figures have been rising every year. Last year, we had 1.4 million visitors, which is putting us on the 50-plus museum of the world. And this push was a tribute also to the vitality of the tourism. So let's say for the first year, we are managing a sort of balance, 70% of tourists, 30% of residents. And actually, last year, we moved up to 84% of tourists, which shows the attractivity of the destination. And we're very proud of this mix.
And what have you noticed, Manuel, about how Abu Dhabi blends business and culture?
I think it's a place of encounter and exchanges. For instance, Louvre Abu Dhabi was born of two great names put together. Louvre, which means the Museum of Museums, and Abu Dhabi, which is the capital of the UAE and this dynamic emirate connected to the world. So this capacity to have this kind of joint venture of meeting point in my industry, culture, it creates these fantastic museums, creating the capacity to attract fantastic brands, but also to make them relevant for the territory they're in. So I think this deal-making, this capacity of approach, not forgetting where you are, but at the same time bringing international excellence is one of the characteristics of what we do here.
And you touched on livability. So I'm going to pick on that for a second. Because with a population that's grown 51% over the past decade, livability seems to be Abu Dhabi's appeal.
True.
It was ranked 6th globally for quality of life and number 1 in the region for most livable city 7 years running, and the world's safest city for 9 consecutive years. Abu Dhabi is pushing this envelope all the time. So Archer Aviation was just conducting test flights for their eVTOLs, their air taxis, the electric vertical takeoff and landing vehicles. But maybe you could tell us about how ADGM connects with Abu Dhabi's vision for stability and livability.
As you rightly said, right? I mean, Abu Dhabi is in so many ways the city of the future, right? And that's how we look at it. Blending technology, blending high finance, blending livability, and then blending culture. So it's that kind of ideal mix. So one of the kind of, nomenclature that our chairman came with was calling Abu Dhabi the capital of capital, right? When we say capital of capital, I mean, we all know about the financial capital. You've got 3 of the largest sovereign wealth funds in the world here. But it's the other aspects of capital. It's human capital. It's technological capital. It's cultural capital. I think it's all of these elements that have always mattered to Abu Dhabi. So it's not something that, as Manuel mentioned earlier, I mean, he's been on this project for Louvre for close to 10, 15 years, right? If not longer. There you go. Even longer. So it's always something that's mattered a lot to Abu Dhabi, and it continues to matter. So livability is at the core of everything we do. And I think that's, you mentioned it, right? The safest city in the world for the last, I think it's 9 years now. The most livable city in the region. But equally, what people don't know is from a technological perspective, we're the most advanced in the region. So it's that blend that we bring here that I think is truly unique. And as ADGM, we're a microcosm, right? We're the microcosm of that macrocosm that's Abu Dhabi. Yes, we're the fastest growing financial district in the region and in some metrics in the world, but we're also in a city that's the fastest growing city economy in the region, right? So you'd look at the numbers, not so long ago, maybe 8-10 years ago, I mean, when we both were here, the non-oil economy was 20% of the economy probably, or circa 20%. And I think it's grown above 56%. So put in perspective, the oil economy is only 44% of the GDP. And that tells you, whilst we've been the fastest growing as well. So that tells you both from a growth perspective and a pivoting perspective, what Abu Dhabi has done. And ADGM has benefited from that. I think what's very grateful for us was that the growth that we've seen is kind of been secular. And we've seen some of the largest names around the world put their trust in ADGM and Abu Dhabi. So that's been wonderful. So Manuel, just, to take off on the question that Rana just asked me, you're seeing what some people call it a cultural awakening moment. But there are so many more new museums coming up. And there's so many other things that are coming up in Abu Dhabi as well. How do you see all of this contributing in terms of the grand vision that Abu Dhabi has?
First one would be inclusivity. From the Emirati identity, which you see from visitors, artwork, from the UAE, from the ground, from the archaeological finding up to contemporary artists from the UAE in art here. But also everybody is calling Abu Dhabi or the UAE home. So this capacity to bring everyone is creating this inclusivity in the society. And we're trying to illustrate it, of course, with artworks, but this is our contribution to the conversation. I think it's also a place of learning, a place of knowledge, a creative industry, but education. And for us, it is one of the key elements. It's also the capacity to innovate, to invent. We're doing it. You know that in our app, you just scan on artwork and you get the label or the content in your language. You can use a kayak to do the tour of the museum, which is a transposition, meditative transposition of a walk in the museum, architectural walk in the museum, except you do it on the sea. The vibrancy of the city is this element which is also gluing people together, sharing something, having places, on moment, on souvenir.
You mentioned the word rooting people. We have a lot of tourists coming, but we have a lot of people also moving here. They think for 2 years and end up staying. I love this word root. Can you talk a bit more about how the Louvre Abu Dhabi contributes to rooting people, not just entertaining?
Because it has depth, because it has a meaning. You will see in the gallery, every step we have something, either directly from the UAE, or from the region, or from the Islamic faith, which are the components, the identity, the core identity of where we are. So Louvre Abu Dhabi is telling the story of humanity, if you want, the story of art of humanity, 10,000 years of history. But it's not an abstract dissertation. It is something which is happening here. It is something which is really, yes, a gift of the UAE to open the book of the world, but at the same time, our reach is global. On this access to globalization, while being strongly where you are, I think this is a fantastic strength in a world of evolution and mutation and transformation and sometimes challenges. Having this stability is extremely strong.
Abu Dhabi seems to be creating a blueprint where cultural and economic diversification go hand in hand. You mentioned the non-oil sectors. Over half of the economy is from non-oil sectors, and the GDP reached a record $326 billion last year. ADGM alone saw assets under management grow by 245% in 2024. How does ADGM do this? How are you positioning Abu Dhabi as the place to be for business?
I truly believe they're talking about, the Renaissance city of the century. We talked about culture, and rooted in culture. We talk about the safety. In a world that we're in today, safety matters a lot. We offer, I think, world-class infrastructure. When you talk about infrastructure, we just don't talk about the hard infrastructure, where I think, the UAE is probably one of the best in the world, but it's also the soft infrastructure. The quality of education that we have, with the schools we have, the colleges, with NYU. I was reading this article about how Abu Dhabi is going to be the Stanford of the East, right, in the next century with the AI university. So, we're very willing to make these long-term bets that I think hold us in great stead. And of course, from a pure play economic perspective, we've always been a city of enterprises. When people come and talk to me about Abu Dhabi, I always tell them, you're talking in a city which has one of the largest banks in the region, which has one of the largest AI players in the region, has the 5th largest energy producer in the world, 3 of the largest sovereign wealth funds in the region. I believe we've got one of the most progressive regulators going around in the world. We're a full-service financial district. So, we've got the entire spectrum. We've got the largest asset managers here. But equally, we also focus on the fintechs of the world, right? You've got some of the most exciting fintechs, both homegrown and international, in our jurisdiction. And if you talk about digital assets, we've been looking at that space since 2018, before most other regulators globally even started looking at it. And the list goes on, right? So that gives you a sense on just how deep, because, Manuel spoke about depth. And, you talk about the economic sector in Abu Dhabi, it's deep. And as Abu Dhabi Global Markets, our role is to make sure that we give people a safe, transparent, well-regulated, rule of law-based society. And effectively, the only thing that I tell everyone and everywhere I go is that effectively Abu Dhabi is open for business.
Tell us more, if you would, about that, the legal framework at ADGM.
We've got direct application of English common law in our jurisdiction, which makes us very unique. The only other 2 other cities that have that are Singapore and Hong Kong. What does that mean, right? It means that if you're a business coming in to do business in ADGM, you get legal certainty. You're able to draw on 200 years of common law decisions, right? And that gives you the confidence as a business to come and set up here, because you know that your interests are going to be always protected.
Manuel, how do you at Louvre Abu Dhabi define success beyond the numbers?
First, we believe a lot in numbers. So this 1.4 million visitors is a very good success. And it is composed of many, many little rivers. Now it is a perception as well. It is the fact that artworks are borrowed and requested by international partners and regional partners. We have a full metrics to show beyond just the footfall. In business, the word the thought leadership is used a lot. In our world, it's an academic. We could talk about the curatorial, cultural narrative, but it is the same idea of from a very new proposition, which is a connected history of art and of humanity. And so, how do you measure it? Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not easy. Everything which is on aura is hard to measure. But I think within the aura of Abu Dhabi, Louvre Abu Dhabi is one of the assets that makes this aura very strong.
And if you don't mind, I'm going to cut you there. If I can pick on what he said, quantitative success, of course, means it's important, right?
Sure.
As I said, you don't become the fastest growing financial district, the fastest growing economy if you didn't care about the quantitative numbers. But I think, again, what sets us apart is they focus on qualitative, as Manuel just said, right? I mean, we care a lot about the qualitative. We care a lot about the customer satisfaction, right? As an example, there's a lot of importance placed on that. There's also a lot of importance placed on how successful the businesses are that come in. My success in market development is not just about, the big names and the big businesses that I bring into Abu Dhabi, but it's about, are we giving them a playing field where they've got the best shot of being successful? How can we support them to be successful?
And how can the Louvre and ADGM sustain this growth? Because this has been incredible growth. How do you sustain it?
I mean, if I can talk from an ADGM perspective, I think it's a continuous focus on, one, what we do well, doing it even better. But end of the day, it's the human feel, right? I always tell this to my team. It's, yes, decisions to set up in new geographies, in Abu Dhabi might be, made in boardrooms, but it's actually in the living rooms of people that actually the decision is made, because it's about people, right? What makes a person want to come to Abu Dhabi? What makes him or her want to bring their family to Abu Dhabi? What makes them want to raise their kids in Abu Dhabi? What makes them want to retire in Abu Dhabi? I think as we continue to focus on that, I think we'll be in a good place. Apart from that, of course, the spirit of innovation, spirit of being adaptive, the spirit of, embracing what's new. I think all of these we continue to do, and I hope we'll always continue to do. I think, and if we do that, I think you'll see that the story in Abu Dhabi is a long-term growth story.
As designers said when we opened, this is a gift from Abu Dhabi to the world. So the gift has to also have a trajectory, a financial trajectory, which means there is a mission for the Louvre Abu Dhabi teams, and the same thing for all my colleagues at the Department of Culture and Tourism and the new museum, which is to find the right balance. So can we break even, or can we at least have a trajectory that we can anticipate? And that's a way to go with a nation effort. So this is where we are. The fact that more than half of the staff is Emirati, the fact that we see people from the region curious to see what we do. We are creating new generations of Emirati, of people from the Gulf, people from the region who will be museum leaders. The museum is in itself a place which is accelerating and strengthening that. I'm very proud of this last part.
Manuel, looking ahead, what excites you about Abu Dhabi's cultural journey?
So many things coming up. One external around us and one internal inside this museum. Around us, we have an incredible lineup of museums that's going to open. Natural History Museum, Zayed National Museum. We're talking about months, if not weeks. My colleagues are working hard and it will happen. A little bit after, the Guggenheim Abu Dhabi. So 5 world-class museums rooted in their territory, relevant to the region, relevant to the world, will be there communicating to each other. Yes, it will challenge us a little bit, because we've been the first museum here, but we can't wait to have them. And I think for people living in Abu Dhabi, for people visiting in Abu Dhabi, that will be the next level. Clever, beautiful building, incredible collection, in a walkable distance. That's going to be fantastic. So I can't wait. This is about the energy of the city. And for me, it will be very important to lead the team in the next phase, especially with the surrounding that has been enriched, You know, around us, we have artworks from all over the world. We have created special relationship from the start with the French. There will be a second chapter to this. We have developed loans from all over the world, from the Arab world, from the Gulf, but also from everywhere in the world. We just installed behind us, you have a beautiful painting by Juan Luna, one of the masterpieces of the National Museum of the Philippines. These elements, we worked with Africa, we worked with Asia, we worked with Mexico. You may have seen this incredible,
massive
huge
head.
Olmec head.
Yeah.
And this is what we're proposing, on access to the world. You're in this territory, you don't forget who you are, you can even think about it, and you have access to the world. So I'm excited by the amplification of it, by the research we're going to put on it, by the publications, the exhibition, the program, the visitors, all the things that we'll do to keep on doing this connectivity, but now with more experience, with deeper ground. Research is absolutely key. So the next decade is going to be as stimulating for the visitor and also for the staff.
I'm super excited. I'm like this. It really is exciting. Thank you for that, Manuel. Arvind, tell us, what excites you about the future for Abu Dhabi?
You know, I think the thing that excites me the most is that with all of the growth that we spoke, both Manuel and I spoke about, you know, we're still at the tip of the iceberg, right? And that's what excites me the most, right? I think there's so much more to come. You know, on the cultural side, you know, Manuel just spoke about the new museums coming and the constant evolution of the Louvre itself. You know, on the entertainment side, you've just had the big announcement with Disney, Harry Potter. I know my kids are super excited about that now. And I mean, that's not just the work of, you know, last few years. It's been the work of the last 5 decades. And I think, you know, we're seeing the fruits of that today. And I think given the leadership that we have now, big bets we talk about on technology, big bets on AI, where we're both ambitious, but we're also patient, right? I think that's kind of, again, what sets us apart. And yeah, super excited about what we're going to do in the future.
So there's a lot to look forward to. Abu Dhabi is a place where culture and business reinforce one another. And it's a place that attracts people and businesses, not just to come and visit, but to stay and grow and contribute through rooted experiences. Thank you for joining us for this episode.